Greetings! On this week's episode, I share an empowering tool that will allow you to write your emotional script. Greetings! I am Tom Earl, and this is my year of balance. It's an honor and a joy and a pleasure to have you here today. I know you could be anywhere, so the fact that you have joined me here today, I'm honored, I feel blessed, and I'm grateful for that. So thank you so much, my friends. You know how we always get started. We're going to take a second to center ourselves, to get ourselves in an awesome energy place. So you know what we're going to do? If you could, on the count of 3, we're going to breathe in and reach up. And then release that energy. Ready? Here we go. 1, 2, 3. Breathe in. And release. One more time. This time as you breathe in, imagine breathing in a positive word. So mine's going to be awesome happiness. 2 words. It can be awesome happiness, joy, whatever. Imagine yourself breathing that word in and it just going all throughout your body. Ready? Here we go. Breathe in. And release. One more time, breathe in and release. There you go. If you did that with me, I know that already you're in a better place. We often go too much through our day without a break or a pause or getting in touch with our breathing. So any chance we can, we want to intentionally take a moment to do so. Here's what we're going to do. We're going to have a little fun getting started here. I'm going to share with you a word, and I want you to notice what's the first image that pops into your head, and I want you to say it out loud. So no pausing, no filtering. I can't even hear you, so no need to be shy about it. If you're in your car, if you're driving, you're cleaning, going for a walk, say it out loud and notice the first thing that comes into your mind. Okay? Let's start with something really light and not controversial at all. Ready? First thing, ice cream. What was the first thing that popped into your mind? Mine was I used to be a general manager of a Cold Stone. So for 4 years when I was in college. So that's the first thing I imagined myself with the little spades. Okay, next one. Ready? Donald Trump. I know no matter who you are, something came up for that one. What's the first thing that came up? Okay, you ready for your next one? Banana. What came up for banana? I thought of a blender because I used to eat 30 to 40 bananas a day. I know it's crazy, but I used to do that, so I think of a blender. But I want you to think of when I said the word banana, if you were to think of a banana, what does that banana look like? Think of it, see it in your mind, and I'm going to try to take a guess. I would guess that what you're picturing is a banana that has a little bit of a curve on it, and it's probably yellow. Maybe for some of us, it has a little bit of green on it, or for some people, it has the brown spots, but I bet we're picturing the same variety of banana. That would be my guess, and I've done this exercise with probably about somewhere between 2,000 to 3,000 people over these past 10 years. And almost always that's the banana that somebody thinks of. And so I ask you, why is that? Why is it that we all think of the exact same banana? Even though, for instance, somebody was telling me that in Puerto Rico, they have over 100 varieties of bananas. Can't confirm if that's true, but that's what they told me. My guess is, though, that all throughout the world, we have thousands of varieties of bananas. And yet that's the banana we all think of instantly. I just say banana. And if you think of a banana, it's the one you picture. Why is that? And of course, we know it's because it's the one that you've seen over and over again. And so it's created this pattern, this generalization in your mind that when we say that word, your mind instantly goes there. And this is something that we do for lots of things. It can be something that's helpful in our survival, is that your experience with something, your mind creates this little shortcut, this mental image, this generalization about that thing. For instance, stoves, when a stove is on, we have a generalization, a mental image of that is hot, danger. For some of us, we had to learn that lesson the hard way. I know I did when I was a little kid. I leaned on that stove while it was on. The top of it, boom, burned my hand. And I instantly linked up in my mind, hot stove equals pain. And for all of us, we have these things and we know they can serve us. And at the same time, we know they can be destructive. For instance, stereotypes, biases, bigotry, these things lead to discrimination, to systemic oppression. So we know that the things we link in our mind, they don't always serve us. What we want to talk about today is not the mental images that we have, but we also have emotional images, emotional movies, and emotional scripts. Just like when I said banana, or I said ice cream, or I said Donald Trump, there wasn't just a mental image that came into place. There was an emotional image that comes across the screen of our body, an emotional script that gets instantly read and translated into feelings we have in our body and into actions we're doing around us. What we want to talk about today is how can you go from being someone or being in a place where, like an actor, you're just reading the lines from the script and playing a scene in your own life. And instead of doing that, how can we get you into the director's chair, into the writer's chair, and into the editor's chair if there's some emotional scripts that aren't serving you? And that's what we want to talk about here today is how can you do that? How can you rewrite that? For a lot of us, our emotional scripts are made up of things that we link to things. It's a very scientific definition I've given you. I'm aware of that. Let me give you an example. Let's say that having tough conversations with people, for instance, maybe conflict or disagreement, or you got into a fight with somebody. We all have an emotional script of what does it mean to be in conflict with somebody? What does it mean when you're going to bring up something that's a difficult conversation to somebody? We all have some sort of emotional script or emotional movie that was created throughout our life, throughout the experiences we've had that we've linked. When this happens, it means this on an emotional level that we experience as feelings. And then it often leads to the way that we're going to react. For instance, with conflict, are we going to react by yielding, letting the person do what they want to do, or being passive, just trying to not go with it at all? Whatever happens, just trying to avoid it. Or are we going to be competitive, where it's like, I'm going to get what I want? Or am I going to be cooperative? A lot of that decision comes down to what is the emotional script? What is the emotional movie that plays in my body, that comes as feelings within me, that influences the reactions I have and the decisions I make? What we want to do is we're going to talk about in these next 20 minutes is what is a step-by-step process you can take to, instead of having those emotional scripts run your life, instead you can go into the editing room and decide, what do I want the script to be? Does that sound good to you? Awesome. Well, then let's dive right in. The first thing to do is to notice when there is an emotional script at play. Especially what we're talking about now is emotional scripts that are not serving us, that have us not acting as our highest self. For instance, you'll usually experience an emotional script that's not serving you as procrastination, as avoidance, as tension, nervousness, anxiousness, fear, pain. These different things are tell signs that I am having an emotional script that's not serving me. Of course, there's times where we want to experience, pain for being associated or linked with putting my hand on a hot stove. I'm not saying rewrite that so that it no longer means putting my hand on a hot stove. But for instance, when we're little kids and we put our hand on the hot stove and it burns us, what if there's a song in the background and we link in our minds It was the song. That's what was unique about that moment. That song was playing, and that's what made my hand burn. And so then you're going throughout your day as a little kid, and the song plays again, and you start to feel, ooh, I start to feel this pain, this same, ooh, my body's telling me this is bad, this is bad. And so you cry and you get the song to turn off. And then you see the stove again, and you didn't link up. It was the stove that caused you pain. So you put your hand on it again, boom, you burn your hand again. And this time what's different is you drank some soda before you put your hand on there. So you link up, it was the soda. You get where I'm going with this, is that sometimes we don't actually link the thing that it was that caused the pain. This could be, for instance, in relationships. You're in a relationship and you were vulnerable. You gave more than you ever gave in your life, and something happened. Maybe the person, I hate to say it, maybe they cheated or they broke your trust in some way. And somehow that relationship ended in pain, in sorrow. And it puts you in a place that you didn't ever want to go to again. And so sometimes what we do in those moments is we link that it was the vulnerability. We link that it was how you went deeper than you ever went before. We link that it was that passionate love that caused the pain. And so then we say, I'm never going to be that vulnerable again. I'm never going to show that much of myself. I'm never going to have that as passionate and uncertain and uncontrollable raw love again. I'm not going to let that happen because that's what caused me pain. And so if I link that it was those things that caused me pain, and I go back out and I try to have a meaningful and loving relationship, you can already guess what's going to happen. I'm not going to be able to do it because you can't have a fully expressive, deep, fulfilling relationship without vulnerability, without passion, without showing the other person who you are. Maybe some of this is ringing true. I know for me, when I was trying to find love, when I was on my journey of, I want to find somebody that I can build with, that I can just really feel with, I used to have a lot of these things linked. And I recognized I'm never going to have a deep relationship unless I rewrite this emotional script, unless I rework this and have a different linkage of what caused me pain. Because it wasn't the vulnerability. It wasn't the expressing myself. What was it then? That's the journey we're going to go on. So the first thing to do is to, step one, notice and voice that there is resistance, that there is procrastination, there's avoidance, there is a behavior that is telling you that something's going on that's not allowing me to live as my best self. There's some sort of blockage. There's a situation where I'm just not happy with it. First thing to do is to name that and recognize it. For instance, we're going to use this example of me and LA traffic. If you haven't been to LA, you don't know what the traffic's like. But let me just paint a picture for you. There are times in LA where you will sit bumper to bumper for hours, just going a half an inch. And even though it's a 5-mile journey, it takes you an hour and a half. And it can be excruciating. You can already hear in the words that I'm using, and if you can see me, my body language, what I'm linking up to driving in LA. What I linked up to driving in LA was pain, was suffering, was that I have no control over my environment, was that it was a waste of my time, was that it was terrible. I had linked up all of these things to driving in LA because of traffic. And what happened? What was the result? What was the consequence of that in my life? The consequence was I would really try to only be on the road between that small window of time where there was no traffic in LA, which is usually between 11 p.m. and 4 in the morning or 11 a.m. and 2 in the afternoon. So it's really not a time where I'm going to be driving anyways, because usually you're at work from 9 to 5 or all these things. And so the consequences it had in my life was that when I was at work, I would be stressed about wanting to get home before traffic got bad. Or I would want to try to leave in the morning before traffic got bad. Or if friends were doing something really awesome and I wanted to hang out with them, I wouldn't want to leave the house because I wouldn't want to face the pain of traffic. It might not sound like that big of a deal, but I noticed that it was affecting my life. It was having me not go for things as much as I would have. I was starting to kind of just be a recluse. I just wanted to stay in the house because I wanted to avoid the traffic. And so the first thing I did was I noticed that there was this behavior I was doing and I vocalized it. I said, Tom, I'm noticing you're having resistance to driving. I noticed that whenever you go about ready to drive, you get really tense. And I noticed while you're driving, you get really frustrated. And the other thing was interesting is that when I would finally get home, rather than relief of being free of the traffic, I would still feel that tension for an hour or two because I had gotten myself so worked up. So that was step one, is I noticed it and I voiced it. Step two is to name the links. What does that mean? Naming the links means going within and finding out, what have I linked to this action or behavior on an emotional level? What is, in other words, the emotional script that I've written associated with this action or behavior? In this instance that we're using, the action or behavior is driving. Driving in LA to be specific. What have you heard me say so far that I've linked with driving in LA? What emotional script have I written for myself? One is I've linked that it's a waste of time. And what have I linked with a waste of time? Scarcity. Time I'm never going to get back. That time is running out. That all these things I wanted to get done, I can't get done. Why? Because I'm stuck in traffic. Therefore, traffic is the reason why I wasn't able to meet my deadline. Of course, we know in parentheses, that's not the reason, but I've linked that it's traffic's fault. If only I wouldn't have been stuck in traffic, I would have been able to do that thing I've always wanted to do. What's the other thing? That it's frustrating because why? I've linked that I can't control the situation. There's nothing I can do. I'm sitting here in traffic, and no matter how upset I get, no matter what I do, I can't make the traffic move. Which I don't like being in a situation like that. So I've linked that it's going to put me in situations where I feel out of control. Driving, I've linked with, it's going to make me feel mad, which I hate feeling. It's going to make me feel all these things that I try to share with people not to feel, I'm going to feel, and I don't like it. That's what I've linked to traffic. Now tell me, if you link all those things I just described to anything, even something like eating ice cream or breathing or hanging out with friends or sleeping, things that should be really fun. If you link any of those emotions that I've just described to anything, why would you want to do that thing? You wouldn't. You wouldn't want to do it. So of course your body's going to say, no, let's not do this. Let's resist this. Of course my decisions are going to be arranged in a way that's going to try to avoid driving at all cost because I've linked these emotions to it. I've written the script so that my body just knows to avoid it. So the first thing I did was I named it. I said, Tom, I'm noticing this behavior that you're avoiding driving. And I notice when you do drive, you're all upset. So let's figure out why. Step two, let's name the links. What have you linked up with what driving is? And I just shared with you that it's terrible. It's torture. It puts me in situations where I feel out of control. I don't like it. Name them. That has now given me the power of self-awareness and the power of a flashlight so that when those emotions come up, I can shine on them and say, this is a linkage. This is an emotional script. This is not you. This is a script that was written before this moment that you are playing into, Tom. So I brought the self-awareness into it. Next, what we got to do is give ourselves some emotional power. Emotional power comes in the form of getting a why that is bigger than the obstacle in front of you. This is something you're going to hear me say all the time. Anytime you have a goal, anytime you have something you want to do, you need to get a motivating and momentum building why. If my why for overcoming all of this emotional script I've written for driving is less motivating than the why I have for not driving, why am I going to want to overcome it? Right? So far I have, why don't drive? Because it's terrible. It's going to make me feel out of control. It's not fun. It's boring. If I wasn't driving, I could be doing all these awesome things with my life. That is the why. If I don't find a why that's bigger than that, I'm not going to have emotional power. I'm not going to be able to tap into that emotional energy to get me over it. So what we want to do is get creative and create a bigger why than the obstacle in front of us. And this is a lesson. This one right here, this step is something you can use for everything in life, but we're going to use it specifically for this. So I said, I want to be in control of my destiny. I want to be able to live life on my own standards. I don't want to have it that because of some outside influence, my happiness is so fragile that because of some LA traffic, it instantly goes out the window. I don't want to lose my internal peace. I don't want my state of gratitude and joy to just be in the rearview mirror because of traffic. Is that really who I am? This is a conversation I have with myself. No, that's not who I am. What to me, personal freedom is that no matter what goes on around me, no matter what storm is raging, that I'm able to keep my state, my energy at one of gratitude and joy. Doesn't mean that I'm putting my head in the sand like an ostrich. It just means that I keep that internal light burning. And so I want to live that. I want that to be me. I don't want traffic to stand in the way of what I can do in the world. I want this to be an example, an opportunity, and a practice for me to live this life goal and life mission I have. And you can just hear in my voice, and I'm getting fired up. I'm getting pumped up. I'm like, bring it on, traffic. And I got myself a big why, one that is associated with my identity, that no, this is who I am. I'm not going to let some traffic, when really it has nothing to do with the traffic. That's the whole key here. It has to do with what I have linked to traffic. It has to do with what supposedly traffic means to me. What is the emotional script that I have written of what traffic means? And as we talked about with the stove on the hand or the breaking up with somebody, often we link the wrong things with it, right? It's not traffic that is causing me the pain. What's causing me the pain is trying to control things that are an illusion. Whenever we do that, whenever I can try to control things that are outside of myself, I sacrifice my happiness for it. When there is always something I can control, and that's my attitude and my reaction. And so, what did I do? I first noticed it and I vocalized it. I said, Tom, you're feeling uncomfortable with driving. Number 2, I named the links. The links are that you've linked up to driving as being this place where you feel totally out of control and makes you feel frustrated and like you're not getting anything done. The third is I got a why that was bigger than the reason why not to. And I said, Tom, for you, personal freedom is that no matter what goes on around you, that internal light you have never dims. And this is a time to exemplify it. And I was all pumped up. And that moved me on to step number 4, which is to create new empowering links. New empowering links, a new and empowering emotional script. And so what did I do? I sat down. This is not rhetorical. This is not theoretical. I sat down and I said, Tom, you have your reason why. I'm not going to let this be something that's going to hold me back when I have a choice to do so otherwise. And here's the choice. What do you want this to mean? If you were to write the emotional script yourself, rather than just letting it be written subconsciously, what would it mean to you? And I said, what it means to me instead is, first of all, I have a really busy life, which I'm not saying is negative. I'm just saying it as a fact that I'm a director of a nonprofit. I run my own school. I have a music business, all these different things. So there's a lot of my time is in demand. People are calling me, they're texting me, emailing me. I have clients I'm doing coaching for. None of this I'm complaining about. I'm just saying that you don't really have that much time for yourself. And I know that you love that quiet time by yourself. And you know what? That car you have has really good noise cancellation technology, where once you get in that car, no matter how noisy it is, you can close the door and it's as quiet as if you have headphones on with great music. Speaking of great music and headphones, you have this sound system in your car where you can play music, podcasts, lectures. It's like, wow. So not only is my car a place where I can be by myself, and if somebody calls me, I can say, hey, I'm in terrible traffic. I don't feel safe talking. Can we talk later? And every single person would totally understand. Next is that all these songs, these new albums that just came out, these podcasts you've been trying to listen to, these audio programs you've been trying to go through. Hey, you're now in traffic for the next hour. You have an hour to yourself, uninterrupted, where you can listen to anything you've been wanting to listen to. Hey, what's the next thing? You're in this box where you have complete control over its temperature. You can make it as hot or as cold or fresh air as you want. Where else do you have that awesome control? What's the next thing? The next thing is you can practice your breathing techniques. You can use this as an opportunity to practice that no matter what happens around me, I can stay with that awesome inner light. The next thing, I can practice being courteous. I can practice, hey, you go first. I can do all these awesome things. I get to see new parts of LA I've never seen before. And you can just hear it in my voice. I started to link driving with awesome things. And then I said, and also I'm going somewhere. I like the places I'm driving to, because I'm either going to an awesome job opportunity or meeting a new friend, or I'm going somewhere that's awesome. This is great. And so I started to link up and cement in my mind, this is what traffic and driving meant. And this leads me to my fifth one, is that at first, the first day I went out, I still felt some of that tension. The second time, it felt a little less. And what I kept doing is number 5, reinforcing and repeating. So I would notice anytime that I would be about to drive, I would notice the tension, the avoidance, and I would name out loud, literally I'd say it out loud, Tom, the reason you're feeling this is because you're linking this to driving. And what I noticed is sometimes I would actually in my mind imagine the trip as terrible as possible. I would imagine all the places where I would hit traffic and people would cut me off and get myself all worked up. And instead I paused that and said, this is what you're doing, Tom. And once I did that, I reminded myself of my why. And then I moved on to positive links. Actually, what I associate, what I link with driving is all these awesome things, reinforced that and repeated it. And what's interesting is I kept doing that. And then about a month later, I got home and I drove through some of the worst traffic. And I noticed I was just in this great mood. I was feeling awesome. I had this big smile on my face. And I noticed, wow, this stuff works. And it's crazy. It's like when you go for a walk and it's foggy out and you come home and you come inside and you realize that your clothes are wet. When it's going on around you a little bit at a time, you don't notice the transformation until one day it's happened. And so I encourage you to try these things out. And so I don't want you to just associate that you can only do this with things like driving. I've already shared with you the one about love, right? So for me, I used to associate with love that in love, you can't tell somebody your truth or they'll leave you. You can't speak up for yourself or the person will leave you. I've had many times in my life, especially in my childhood, where I vocalized something that was bothering me, or I spoke truth about something to somebody I loved, and because of that truth, they got upset, and then without saying anything, they just disappeared from my life for months at a time. And in my life as a child, I then internalized, I wrote an emotional script that said, when you're in a relationship with somebody you love, you don't want to speak out when something's bothering you. Because if you do, it'll upset them and they'll leave you. And so I learned that. So my emotional script was, don't do that. Well, you can't live like that. So what would eventually happen is it would build up and it would build up and it would build up. And instead of going through the uncertainty of telling them and worrying that maybe they'd leave, instead of trying to work through it, I would just leave. I would have all these things that would frustrate, and I'd say to the person, hey, look, this isn't working. I'm out of here. Obviously in a much nicer way. And they would say, where did this come from? Yesterday, everything was great between us, and now you're leaving? What the heck is going on? And they'd say, tell me. And I would just open my mouth and no words would come out because I was unable to speak what was bothering me because of this emotional script. This linkage of speaking truth in love means the person leaves you. So I would either not say it or I would leave before they could leave me. This was not empowering. This was not serving my life, especially when my goal in life, one of the things that I want in life is is meaningful, loving relationships. Maybe this is something you relate to. Maybe it's not speaking truth. Maybe it's that you need to apologize all the time for love to stick around. Or maybe it's that it's just not worth even trying because vulnerability is what ruined it last time, like the example I shared in the beginning. So what I did is I went through and I recognized, I named, I have this resistance to speaking up, to saying my truth when there is love. Because why? And I went to the next step. Because what I've linked with speaking truth when you're in love, that what happens is the person leaves. Why? Because it's too much. Because people don't want to hear that. Because it makes them feel isolated. I linked up all these different things. And so what did I do next? Step number 3, is I got a bigger reason why. I said, you know what? Here's the 6 ingredients I want in a loving relationship. This is something we talk about in the Celebration Academy. We create what are the 6 ingredients of a loving relationship. One of mine is I want there to be honesty. I want there to be accountability. And I know that for a relationship to thrive, there has to be both affirmation and accountability. Love and awesomeness and giving each other positive words and in a kind and respectful way, sharing things that are hurting, having those tough conversations. I want that. That to me is love. So I created that why. What is the next thing I do? I created new links. I created a new emotional script. And I said that for love to thrive, we need to have these conversations. And you know what was a new thing I wrote? As I said, that disagreement can lead to a stronger relationship when we work through it in a loving way. That was a new linkage I wrote to conflict, disagreement, having to have a tough conversation, was that instead of it meaning the person is going to leave, having it mean that if we work through this, and maybe you've had this happen, where you had a disagreement with somebody, because you worked through it in such an awesome way, you felt even closer to that person than before you had the disagreement. And I rewrote that linkage and I cemented it by thinking of all the times that's happened in my life where I worked through a disagreement with somebody. I told them something that was happening in the relationship that was hurting, and we worked through it in a way where we felt even closer, even bonded, even more together. I rewrote that link and then I reinforced it by repeating it whenever I would notice that I was avoiding having a tough conversation with somebody I love. And now what's happened? My relationships are awesome. Truly, it's one of the joys in my life. And when it comes up, when I notice, when I have people, when I bring something up that is a tough conversation and they do leave, they ghost, they disappear. Instead of linking like I used to, that it's my fault, that it happened because, once again, it's because I was honest. I now know that it has nothing to do with me, that it's their own journey and it's not because of me. So, my friends, I hope this was helpful for you. What I'd like for you to do is take time today, or at the very least, take time this week, while this is fresh in your mind, maybe before you go to bed tonight. And I want you to write down 3 things that you've been avoiding, or 3 things that you put off, or 3 things that when you think about doing it, you feel that tension in your gut, or you feel that resistance that comes in the form of stress or pain or anxiousness. 3 things. Maybe it's having a conversation with somebody that you've been putting off. Maybe it's trying something new, like a podcast you've been wanting to start, or putting out some videos, or releasing a song, or maybe it's something like learning how to cook, or maybe it's something like driving, like mine. Maybe it has to do with something about love. Whatever it is, think of 3 things that you thought of while I was talking about this. And I want you to go through these 5 steps. And if at first it's hard to remember them, look in the show notes, which of course is at tomearl.com/link, L-I-N-K, tomearl.com/link, L-I-N-K, tomearl.com/link. And you'll find the 5 steps listed right there, and go through them. Walk yourself through them where you recognize it, you name the links that are there, you get a bigger reason why, you create new links, and then you repeat and reinforce. Try this out, and I bet it'll transform your life, because I know this is one of the most empowering tools that I've added into my life. That whenever something comes up, I say, it's because of this emotional script I have. Let me rewrite it. And I get in the director's chair, and instead of it controlling me, I rewrite it so it serves my bigger purpose in life of living as my highest self. As always, if you have any questions, please let me know, or any feedback. It's been such a joy recording this one. It's really a pleasure to share this with you, and I appreciate you allowing me the time and the space to put it all together in a way that's accessible. My friends, I'm just getting all happy over here. All right, you know what I'm doing is that, as always, I'm wishing you peace and blessings. Thank you. Greetings, Tom Earl here. I hope you enjoyed that episode of The Celebration. I wanted to touch base because a lot of people have been having some amazing questions about the Celebration Academy. And so I wanted to give you a back-end perspective, or a back-end insider's view of what is the Celebration. So the Celebration is an individualized learning platform where you get your own learning profile, and it has all of your lessons, your videos, your handouts, the MP3 downloads, everything you need right here on your own learning platform that you log into. And it's a 6-week course that, just like the podcast, it's a place for leadership, inclusion, and expression, where we live as the best version of ourselves. Except with this, it takes a step-by-step systemic approach that builds upon each week so that you connect with your gifts and your purpose while taking your leadership, your expression, your communication, and your relationships to the highest level of the best version of yourselves. It's a great program. As you can see, each week has 2 lessons, and they're in great sizes, 15 minutes each lesson, so that you can complete one lesson on the way to work and complete the other one on the way home from work, or however you'd like to break this down. So you can just go click right in. Here's your video. It's great. You can download the MP3, all your handouts. You can have comments here where your classmates or I can respond. It's great. And if you sign up right now, you're going to see right here that I include the achievement roadmap right there for you. At the same time, if you sign up right now, you get a one-on-one coaching session with me, which is going to be great. In addition, you get added to Leadership Makes Impact, which is a membership program where you get a free training every single month. So you can check that out all right here, tomearl.com/courses. Right there, you can enroll today. And if you'd like, we have a program called the Achievement Roadmap. It's a free 3-part course. Connects you with the tools, mindsets, and practice for stress-free time management and high-impact goal setting. So if you'd like, you can sign up for that for free just by going to tomearl.com/courses. Sign up for free right here, and then create your own unique, individualized user profile. Just enter your name, your email address, create a password, Hit sign up for free and you are in. Once you're in, it looks like this. And you have awesome stuff right here. Welcome each class, and you can download each one as an MP3 if you want to listen to it on the go. So I hope you consider doing that. And for all my artists out there, consider joining Art Makes Impact. It's a $10 a month membership program where you get access to all of the live and online writing workshops that I have done this year. And at the same time, I do exclusive writing workshops for Art Makes Impact members. We have a great time during that. We'd love to have you join us. It's $10 a month. We have a great time, and you can also download all these as MP3s, have comments. All of that can be found at tommerl.com/courses. Let me know if you have any questions. I hope you consider joining us. Sign up for free for the Achievement Roadmap and give us a test run. You won't be disappointed. As always, my friends, I'll see you next week, and I'm wishing you peace and blessing.